All right, 3, 2, 1. We are live. Welcome to the Prefessional podcast, episode number 5. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about Neltharion Shadow, the new LFR Wing that was just released this week, some of the Mythic affixes, the Mythic dungeons themselves, and I figured I'd close this video out with how I basically make a World of Warcraft guide video. So let's go ahead and talk about the new wing. So the new wing, LFR, second to last wing, because they apparently didn't group Sarkareth with Malgorax and Neltharion, which is kind of weird. But whatever, it is what it is. So Neltharion Shadow fighting Malgorax and Neltharion, or the Echo of Neltharion. And let me just say, Aberrus has been an overall just great raid experience. The major difference between like LFR and normal, I personally don't think was too noticeable until it came to like Echoes of Neltharion. I think that's like a big jump in terms of difficulty when you compare the LFR to the normal difficulty. But let's start with Malgorax. Okay, so 3-headed serpent Hydra, really cool looking boss, really fun raid. Well, I say really fun, but that's just because it's really simple. Malgorax is he is the easiest boss in the raid inside of Aberrus. It's as close to a tank and spank as you're going to get when it comes to mechanics, but everything is really easy, really simple, really simplistic. But it's a pretty enjoyable fight. The main biggie is Echo of Neltharion. And, with LFR, it's been some interesting bouts. I didn't have too much issue. I didn't have any issue actually when I tanked it. My DPS, however, was slightly different. I think our raid wiped like 4 times on LFR just trying to down Neltharion, which was really weird. But it was more so just because people didn't understand what exactly was happening. And, honestly, like I said before, like the biggest gap difference, like a lot of the other bosses like Kazara, the Assault of Zakali, even the Amalgamation Chamber, like comparing those bosses from LFR to normal difficulty, there's really not a whole lot difference other than it's a little bit more punishing if you miss a mechanic. So like the damage is higher. But overall, everything pretty much stays the exact same. Neltharion does not. And it's very apparent in that battle because like in LFR, multiple people are going to break the walls. They're going to get knocked back because they don't understand what's going on and what's happening. I don't know if that's really loud or not. I'm going to turn the volume down just a little bit there. But, the shatter pieces, it doesn't stack. And see, on normal difficulty, it stacks. When you break walls, that stacks. That dot stacks. So that's why typically, like in LFR, there's wall pieces broken everywhere. People just don't know what they're doing. And they're breaking pieces like all over the place. But it still only applies one level dot, against the entire raid, and on normal difficulty, it doesn't do that. Normal, if you have 6 wall pieces broken, that's 6 dots, 6 stacks. But I tanked it. My group, when I tanked it, we did fine. We downed it. No wipes. I think maybe like 1 or 2 people died. But overall, definitely probably the most enjoyable fight so far in the raid. When I think back to the rest of the raid bosses, Neltharion is definitely the favorite. I'm interested. I know I want to see what they're going to do with LFR because Sarkareth is going to be, it's another heavily mechanically involved boss compared to the rest of them in this raid. A lot of people said that Aberrus is easy. And it's pretty simple. It's pretty simplistic in design, which is a good thing. I said that in the last podcast, but there is a vast difference between the first bosses in Aberrus compared to the last 2. So overall, like thinking of all of the bosses that you encounter, I can't think of any that are actually like a struggle, even from like an LFR perspective. Well, maybe Rashok. I actually think Rashok is probably the 3rd most difficult boss encounter, at least according to the LFR. I'm thinking of LFR. I'm not thinking about normal. So like LFR, I think Rashok is probably the most difficult boss of them until you get to Neltharion. Neltharion is definitely the second most difficult, and Starkreath is going to be the most difficult for LFR groups. But that's... I'm just trying to think. Yeah, no, that's pretty much how it is, because I can't think of anybody else that would actually be difficult. The Zakali is pretty simple. It's just, you know, as long as there's communication of everybody splitting. I've seen groups of the Zakali where like a majority of the raid will like run to the far end of the side, and then you only have like one tank, one healer, and like 2 DPS on the other side. And that's worked in some groups. We've actually, when I ran it with my hunter, was it with my hunter? I can't remember if it was with my hunter or my tank. Either way, we had like almost everybody go to the far side of the platform because that's the first one that the warlord jumps to. And then the other side was just to kind of like contain the ads the best they could. And we reached phase 2 before he was able to reach 100 energy and jump to the other side. Like the DPS, like everybody was just that geared though. So it's pretty funny to do it, like to be able to do it in that way. You can't do that on normal, at least not yet. I mean, unless you're rocking like major gear. But yeah, so Neltharion is definitely a jump up in terms of mechanics. Really fun fight though. I really enjoyed it. So with that, I released a full-on guide for the LFR Wing covering Malgorax and Neltharion, and ended up creating a cheat sheet. I'll pop that up on the screen so you can just check it out. It is available for download. I might link it down in the description here too. If not, it is on the video. I'm trying to keep it all contained to one area because I'm tracking the amount of clicks on the link. I just want to see what kind of traction this kind of gets. You know, it's fun. It's nice. I like doing this, but at the same time, it is kind of time consuming to make one of these, just because of trying to get the pictures and everything correct, on top of my already busy workload of, you know, my own business, my family, and then creating guide videos. So it's just something else to add on, but I thought it would be fun. I thought it would be handy for a few people. And, you know, if it does get some traction, if I'm getting quite a few downloads and clicks on this, then I'm going to go back and make them for the rest of the previous raid bosses in Aberrus, and then I'll do it for the future ones as well. Probably not going to do it for Vault, since Vault's just completely outdated, and I feel like it would just be a waste of time, even though those videos are still getting views, but I guess people are still running Vault. But yeah, so here's the cheat sheet. Like I said, if not, you can check out the guide video. I have the link there. I'm probably just going to keep it contained. So if you want to download it, navigate to my channel, go to my video, and then it should be the very first video on the homepage. It's my last video that I uploaded before this one. And it's, you know, Aberrus Shattered Crucible LFR Wing 3, the ultimate guide. So check that out. It'll be linked there. You can download it. It's got Malgorax, and then it also has all 3 phases of the Echo of Neltharion, all broken down. Mechanics at the top. It has pictures of each spell ability, or of like the crucial ones at least, and then the very bottom has the role specific duties. So just talking about my schedule and stuff, I might well, at the end of this pod, I'm going to go into like what it takes to actually make a video, because I've had a couple people ask me, you know, and a couple people thank me, and I thought it would just be pretty cool to, you know, kind of talk about it and as what the video process actually entails. So let's jump into like the mythics. The last 2 weeks, not this week, the last 2 weeks was a definite difference in Mythic Plus running, just because of actually needing to have a decent group comp. And the reason I say that is because like the previous weeks, it didn't really matter. And it's more noticeable for me as a tank when affixes are involved and I can't do anything about them. And incorporeal and afflicted, I am pretty much worthless to the group. Thankfully, I'm the tank, so you just kind of have to deal with it. I have to pick up the people who are going to, you know, be able to handle those affixes. But they did actually hotfix, or they didn't hotfix, but they made it available this week that Death Knights and Warriors will be able to handle incorporeal the next rotation, and I'm hoping they can do something with afflicted as well. I like, you know, it reminds me like back in Wrath, Blizzard constantly said back in Wrath, you know, we want you to bring the player, not the class. And that's why they started migrating into like the whole class synergizing type of stuff where all classes can kind of do everything, you know, as like a multitude. And it was more so just to kind of blend that in so that basically people weren't, you know, okay. So a perfect example of that actually is Bloodlust. Like back in the day, Bloodlust was only available with shamans. Like that's it. So every raid had at least one shaman. And that shaman could have been the worst fucking player on your server. But you brought him because he could stay alive long enough to press that Bloodlust button. Like that is exactly how it was. And you know, so now they have like, you have like the whole mage thing, you have the hunters thing, you have the drums, things like that to constitute. And you know, that's what they've kind of gotten into. But these two affixes had made it feel less like that because like, for instance, where I'm already a Death Knight, you know, I couldn't deal with Incorporeal and I couldn't deal with Afflicted. So the last two classes I wanted to see queue up were Death Knights and Warriors. I don't know what Demon Hunters have. I'm not sure if they're able to, you know, I don't see a lot of Demon Hunters actually. So I'm not sure if they are able to deal with them. If they are, you can just let me know, but I'm not aware. So, but like a Warrior could pop up and an Unholy DK could pop up. And it's like, I know you guys are going to bring solid DPS, but you can't deal with the affix, and I need other people that can deal with the affix because I'm already handicapping the group because I can't do it. So let me get this out of here so I can sit up like I want to. So, you know, that's kind of how things went. And it wasn't, you know, I'm hoping that they make another change to the Afflicted so that way we can actually, you know, contribute to the group and stuff. So as a tank, I'm already the leader of the group. That is my role, and it hurts when I am leading a group and I cannot help them. You know, like I can't go above and beyond in order to help them with the affixes. I have to rely on the other people, and it's kind of annoying because I know what my skill level is and I know what I can do. I don't know other people's skill level. So you never really know, and it just kind of gatekeeps a lot because why am I going to take somebody who, even though they're sitting at like a 420 eye level, if their rating is only at like a 200 because they just aren't running mythics or they haven't been running mythics, I don't want them because because of their rating. Like I'm being super cautious about it now. So, but we're not dealing with that this week. This week was what was this week? Is this week Raging and no, this week is Sanguine and Explosive. And I'm glad that they did the fixes that they did with Sanguine. It's a little bit delayed. It feels like it's delayed a little bit longer from when it drops, and then it also doesn't last as long. I haven't had any issues with it at all. This week has been fun tanking. I've only done like a couple mythics though. I really haven't had the time, primarily because I was trying to get the video out. But I'll talk about my rating. I'm a very casual player. You know, it's kind of weird for me to say that, even though I do spend quite a bit of time. A lot of my time that I spend online is either looking at things, looking at tooltips. I do run mythics, or I'm gathering like stuff for videos. But I'm currently sitting at over 1600. I've just had really bad luck with some of my groups, and I'll explain a little bit here as far as what I mean by that, because I want to talk about some of the dungeons. But I'm currently sitting at I'm sitting over 1600. I think I'm like 1660. I'm like the 14th best. I'm the 14th highest rank in my realms for as far as Death Knights, which isn't saying much. It's kind of sad, honestly, in my opinion, but maybe that's, you know, there's like 400 and some Death Knights that are logged on Raider.io. I'm sitting at 14. I'm actually heading on vacation this week. This podcast is going to come out probably at a different time. I think I'm going to shove this podcast out halfway through the week just for a video buffer in between, since I just released the guide video. So this is going to be a delayed release for this pod. I'm heading on a week-long vacation with the family, and then I'm actually going to be back full-time the 19th. And I'm going to jump back into it pretty hard that week, depending on how business is. And I plan on being over 2K in the next, by the end of, well, I'll be at 2K by July. That's the overall goal right now. I'll be over 2K, and then I'm going to push higher once I can get there. But I still have to finish Heroic Abris. Anyway, Catalyst comes out next week. Super excited for that. I only have a 2-piece. I just got my 2-piece set. That's actually why I was kind of restricted on running, just because of my gear. I couldn't break my 4-piece 29, tier 29. I could not break my 4-piece until I got my 2-piece for the 30. And I've had horrible luck with teardrops when running dungeons. And with the LFR Wing, I actually got my last tier piece with Neltharion. So my tank finally has his 2-piece set. I was able to upgrade a little bit. That finally pushed my eye level up. And I was able to replace a lot of my gear, actually. So Catalyst comes out next week. Can't wait. I'll finally be able to get my 4-piece in 2 weeks. Super excited. That also means there'll be decent eye level, since my the 2-piece I have is Raid Finder level. They're veterans, and they're both maxed out, though. And then, but I have hero gear on like my head, my shoulders, yeah. So the Catalyst will replace that, and I'll have my 4-piece in 2 weeks. Thank God, finally. Unless I get really lucky when I come back and run the Heroic and get a teardrop, but overall, it is what it is. Oh, so let's talk about some of the dungeons, okay, and how I feel about them. Neltharis and Neltharion's Lair are easily the top 2 best dungeons this rotation in Season 2. I've been running it. They are the best. Neltharion's Lair is better now that they've nerfed the final boss, because his the worm is still, in my opinion, a little too strong. It's a nightmare for healers. I don't really care. I'm a DK. I'm a blood DK. So honestly, healers are just there for the rest of the group, not really me. But Neltharion's Lair and Neltharis are both top tier this season in terms of fun. I want to say Uldaman is my third favorite. However, what is the boss's name? Brahmas, the iron golem guy, the third boss. He's a pain in the ass. He sucks. But the rest of that is a really fun dungeon. I want to say, like, when it comes to the mid tier, I've gone back and forth with it, and I want to say it's between like Vortex Pinnacle and Brackenhide. And I'm going to just say Brackenhide sucked ass on Raging Affix week, because the mobs run away, and with Raging, you can't stop them from running away. So that resulted in a lot of clusters, really annoying. Like Brackenhide, I've had some groups that are really, really good, and we've like breezed through it. And then I've had other groups that were just trash, and it's been a fucking nightmare. And I thought like the last boss was going to be difficult, but it wasn't. I felt like the last boss was harder on Heroic when I was first running it than it is on Mythic now. But overall, probably Vortex Pinnacle is the next, and then Brackenhide is just below that. Halls of Infusion is one of the lower ones, just simply because I don't know what it is with that dungeon. I just don't like it. I actually might end up, when I finally do my tier list, I'm probably going to end up ranking Halls of Infusion dead last. Like, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I wrote up a list really quick, right before the pot. Well, it's been sitting here, but I wrote it up, and I want to say that I liked Halls of Infusion in the beginning, but I really don't now. And maybe it's just because I'm running 15 keys, but I honestly, like, the only enjoyable boss in that is the third boss, the female, who does the ice spells. That is the only boss I actually enjoy. The frog isn't horrible, but the first boss and the last boss are annoying, and it's just not fun. The first boss is a nightmare. It's a nightmare. And I don't know why it is so difficult for me to see that static field attack, but I cannot see when it's being used, and I cannot see where the fields are being dropped until I'm literally consumed by it. Like, they just fucking appear. So I hate him. I hate that boss with a passion. And the last boss, honestly, just because of the gauntlet that you have to run in order to get to the boss, it's annoying. It's just annoying. So I don't like it at all. Excuse me. Let me get some. Need to wet my whistle there a little bit. So let's talk about the last two. If you don't know, FreeHold and Underrot. Now, I want to say I like FreeHold. Okay, I ran the hell out of FreeHold when I was leveling my Death Knight. I tanked it plenty just by leveling because, you know, you level through the BFA dungeons. FreeHold was fun. But for the life of me, I cannot get a decent group to run FreeHold at all. Like my last experience with FreeHold, and I'm going to rant a little bit because of this, because here's the thing. I liked the dungeon. It was fun to run. It was very fun to run. I didn't have any issues with it. Other than like the captain council that you have to fight because of the random jumping shit. Like that annoyed me. But overall, it was enjoyable. The groups I've had have been a fucking nightmare, and nobody knows how the fuck to play it. There's the first boss isn't bad because it's very simplistic when it comes to mechanics. Just avoid the charges and avoid the poison sprayed on the ground. Very simple boss. The Council of Captains, the bartender throws things out. And seeing people like just not be able, like, I mean, it just comes down to like, they can't avoid a fucking simple mechanic. And it's like, why are you, I actually had somebody like say in the group chat, why are you moving the bosses into the green areas? We can't DPS there. Yeah, no shit, Melee. I'm aware of that. But at the same time, you drag the bosses through the bad ale that the bartender throws because it deals damage to them. It helps speed up the fight. And then you get to, not the turtle guy, it's the arena. The turtle guy, that's easy enough. You just avoid the damn shells. But the next one, the guy with the Sharknado, and he throws the sharks. And people are like, okay, so I'm gonna rant a little bit here. And this is what actually prompted my community post earlier, as far as like, would you like to see Mythic Plus tips or like Mythic Plus dungeon, guides and things like that? I'm probably not going to do like a fully in-depth guide, but I will do like I'll touch base on like the key stuff and then go through it. But the guy with the fucking sharks, okay? The sharks aggro to whoever is closest to them. So if you're being chased by a shark and you run past another member, that shark will, instead of chasing you, switch to the guy that is closer and chase them. So everyone has to be spread out. Everybody has to be watching the fucking sharks. And you have to lead the sharks to the red circles that are on the arena in order to get rid of them. You have to lead the sharks to the red circles to get rid of them. And I mean, I'm telling you, like that is the boss. That is the boss that has caused my FreeHold groups to just fall apart. And it's like, and I don't even want to get into like the whole, I've had like people don't understand patrol routes, so they stand too far off, they're not paying attention, and then they aggro another group of mobs. And it's like, Jesus Christ, bro. But that is, I want to like FreeHold, but I can't. So I'm going to end my rant there. And I'm going to rant about the last dungeon, Underrot. You know, I can't even make a comment about the last boss of Freehold because I've only had a few groups make it there, and anything over a 14 cannot get to the final boss. They fucking crap out on the damn Sharknado guy. I don't know what his name is, so I apologize. I just know him as Sharknado. That's what I call him because that's what he does. So, Underrot. This is another dungeon where I've had horrible luck. And it's just because people don't understand the mechanics and they don't know what the fuck they're doing. You know, the first boss isn't bad. First boss is always pretty easy to go through, right? But the last 3 bosses are just rough. And okay, so what's boss number 2? Boss number two is the charging thing, right? I want to say boss number 2 is the blood ticks. I might have the order messed up. I'm pretty sure boss 2 is the blood ticks. That's the weird looking thing that has the 2 legs, the big ass mouth. It charges at you. It drops little lava, blood ticks on the ground. And you have to step on them. Let me reiterate that. You have to step on them because that is where the groups fail. I end up having to I'm tanking, trying to keep the boss from destroying the group because he has a huge frontal cone attack that people aren't aware of. And at the same time, I'm having to run around and step on as many lava ticks as possible because the other DPS and the healer is just kind of standing there. And it just comes down to simple mechanics, right? The boss is not difficult. It's not even a whole lot to him. As the tank, you keep him facing away from everybody because, like I said, he has a frontal cone. But every ability he has, he drops blood ticks on the ground. And these little larva things, and you have to literally run your character over top of them to bust them. If you don't, he will spawn them, and it's a nightmare because they deal a lot of damage on higher keys. Lower keys, no big deal. But if you get to 15, no, the damage is top notch. So you can handle some, but it's gonna fucking wreck your group. Okay, and then the third boss is the mushroom guy. And again, it's people don't understand. As the tank, the boss has a body slam ability that deals damage out in a frontal cone. So the idea as a tank is that you position the boss. If you look around the arena, he spawns a bunch of little mushrooms, not the big mushrooms. There's 6 huge mushrooms that are just there. That's part of the landscape. You don't worry about them. The boss spawns mushrooms and they're all over the place. They're little, well, smaller, but they're very easily seen. So the boss has a frontal slam attack. You, as the tank, position the boss so that when he does his body slam, he destroys a bunch of the mushrooms. Because the thing is that when you get hit by the mushrooms, they deal a lot of damage if you run into them. So you don't want to run into them. As DPS, you get targeted with an attack that's called Upheaval. You have a ring around you, and a majority of the players I see, they just run out of the fucking arena. They don't even stand in the mushrooms. They literally run out of the ring, way past the arena, and let it expire. You're supposed to stand on a group of mushrooms so that when the upheaval happens, it destroys those mushrooms. So what ends up happening is there's a bunch of mushrooms on the ground. And if you don't know this, when the boss reaches 100 energy, he detonates all of those mushrooms. And they deal damage to everybody. And then they apply a dot. And you can survive a couple of those. But when you have 8 mushrooms blow up at once, it's a wipe. Every fucking time. And that's what I have to deal with. I end up having to pretty much run around like a lunatic, popping all my defensive cooldowns in order to try to physically absorb the damage that the mushrooms have, to manually destroy the mushrooms to keep the raid from wiping. And that's what I deal with Underrot. The last boss is not that bad, but it's still, groups seem to struggle. I don't know what it is. The boss has one attack where he does a huge frontal cone where he sprays gray shit all over the place. The only thing you have to do for that boss is honestly group on the tank. You stand on top of the tank. If you stand on top of the tank and you move with the tank, that fight is just so super easy that it's ridiculous. So that's why I have those ranked as like the lower two. I think they're fun, but I haven't had any groups that I've actually been able to enjoy those dungeons with. Sorry, that was a really long rant, but it's how I feel. It's just annoying, man. It's just annoying. So this pod's actually going to probably be the longest pod I've had. Let me just, I'm going to end it on this. Okay. I want to end it on this. And I just want to talk about like my process as far as what it takes to make my ultimate, raid guide. So if you're a viewer of my channel, I put out guides for the LFR wings, LFR and normal. But I don't release them until LFR. I am targeting a very casual audience of WoW players because I myself am a casual. You know, I'm not like a full-time casual. I'm semi above that just because I spend a lot of time researching and things like that. But actually inside of the game, I'm pretty much a casual player if you break it down. But that's just because of my schedule. So, you know, to give you like an insight, I'm going to give like a little bit of an insight of my life, my daily schedule here. So, I have a wife, I have 2 kids, I have 3 dogs, and I have 13 chickens. I run my own business, and I'm a full-time college student. If you don't know my past, I was in law enforcement for 10 years. I gave that up 2 years ago to pursue my dream career, or my other dream career. I always want to be law enforcement, but my second dream career is being a game developer. So I am pursuing my bachelor's in computer science, and I have about a year and a half, a little less than that, before I have my bachelor's. But anyway, I'm a full-time student. I own my own business. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, and I have a fuckload of animals. So you might ask, how the fuck do you have time to make a video or anything like that? And I'm going to tell you, it is a fairly time-consuming process. Okay, I don't sleep. I average about 4 hours of sleep a night. Like, honestly, I'm pretty much up until like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I'm up at like 6. That's just how I am. That's how I've always been. I don't require a lot of sleep to function. I don't. I have to be medicated in order to actually sleep decently. So I just don't fuck with it. I don't like medication. Anyway, I work on videos at night. I work on videos during the day when I have a chance. Like, for instance, today, like I said, I have my own business. I get to work and do whatever the fuck I want when I want. I have that luxury to make my own schedule so I can make time and do things when I need to. But anyway, making a video. All right. So now you may know some people already have videos out, well before, and that's fine. Power to them. I'm glad they could do that. I would love to be able to put out a video the exact same day. For instance, this week is a great example. LFR Wing 3 came out. I put out my ultimate guide the day after, which is actually a really good turnaround for me. When I was doing Vault, I was really delayed just because it took so much longer to do, but I've gotten a lot faster with my editing and things like that. With Aberrus Wing 2, I think that video, Aberrus came out on Tuesday. Wing 2 came out on Tuesday, and I had my video up on Thursday, if I remember correctly. That was for Wing 2 was that Wing 2? Yeah, with Zakali, Rashok, Scorn. So that was, that was the 3-day turnaround. That was really good. So this week I did better. Let me just explain what it does. And I'm going to let you know, like I already have part of Sarkareth already typed up. What I do is I research the raid. So if I haven't done it on normal, which is rare, I didn't do any of Vault on normal, but I've done Aberrus on normal. So I have some help there. So what I do is, because, okay, so let me just start off. I do research before I start. Like, I know, for instance, Sarkareth is coming up. Or I'll just tell you my process that I did for Wing 3. I'm sorry, I'm doing a lot of backstepping and stuff like that. But I'm just trying to get my thoughts together. Like I said, this is raw. I'm doing this completely unscripted. Like, I'll show you what I'm looking at here. Okay, with my podcast stuff, this is it. I have like general guidelines, like bullet points that I want to talk about, and then that's kind of it. Then I just pretty much I go through it and freehand it completely. So so let's talk about it. All right, so Wing 3, I knew it was coming out. It was going to be Malgorax and the Echo of Neltharion. So what do? I use my two main resources. My first primary resource is Wowhead, just because that is the most up-to-date location on everything that happens. When they make a change on the PTR build or a live build, they put it there and they add the change logs with the dates. They add everything there is broken down exactly as it's needed to be the most thorough and 100% authentic information that you can use. So I use Wowhead. I look at their breakdown of the fights. I look at the boss's abilities on the different difficulties and compare them. And then I also utilize Icy Veins because that's another really great website just to get a little bit of a different viewpoint. However, if you go to like any website, you're pretty much going to find like the same type of strategy everywhere because it's just, there's limited mechanics. So there's only but so many different strategies that you can use. So everything's kind of simplistic and down in design. So I'll go to Wowhead. I'll get a general idea of the fight. And then I just start typing up a script. And I'll start explaining the fight. I'll explain the abilities. I'll get all the technical details. And I'll show you my script for Aberrus, actually. Let me pull that up. So this is my script for the third wing. Okay, you can see it literally starts off. Everything with my guides is completely scripted. Everything I say has been written multiple times. I've gone through it. I've, made changes, whatever. So I first do a rough draft of everything that I understand with the fight. And then I dive into it. So I go to Wowhead, I go to Icy Veins, I read through the fights, I read through the information, the abilities, things like that. I then open up Google Docs. I start typing. I type up my entire script as a rough draft. Just a really basic, really brief description of things. And then I'll jump back into Wowhead and Icy Veins. And that's when I start to dive into like the actual abilities. Wowhead is the best for this because I can pull up, for instance, Catastrophic Eruption. It tells me the exact amount of damage. It tells me the exact amount of time frame that, like how long it lasts, how long debuffs last, how much damage it deals, everything like that. And, when it comes to making the guides, I thought about doing it with, it gives you a dot that deals 12,000 fire damage every 1.5 seconds. But I felt like that was just too technical and really not that relevant. Like as a user, when I'm looking for something like, okay, it's a dot, it does damage. I don't care how much damage it does because it's just going to do it regardless. Like it's an unnecessary bit of information that you need. It deals damage every time. Is it something I need to be really, really aware of? If it is, I list that down in the role responsibility section. So I do a bunch of research on Wowhead. I write up my rough draft. I jump back in to Wowhead and Icy Veins. I'd pull up all the technical details of everything to fine point and to fine print my abilities as far as listing them out and things like that. I will then pretty much do a rough draft of like the role specific duties, things to keep an eye on and things like that. All of this stays in the rough draft phase until that wing is actually released. And I made the mistake with this on perfect example of this actually is the very first wing. I made an example. I made a mistake and I had to go back and correct it. So on the Amalgamation Chamber, LFR the bosses were supposed to be buffed if they were too close together. That was changed. However, I wasn't aware of that until after the fact of recording and editing the video. So I had to then go back in text because it was changed and make a pinned comment stating this is what, is legit. This is what you have to look out for and things like that. So I don't do that anymore. So my script is not finalized. until I play that wing specifically. Like, I understand it on normal difficulty, but not on LFR because things change. So once the wing is released, I immediately jump on. I play the raid. Pretty much do it twice. I'll do it on my hunter and I'll do it on my death knight to tank. After I do that, if I don't feel comfortable enough, I'll run it again. I don't get any loot, but I'm not running it for loot purposes. I'm running it for the video content. So I'll run it again. Now, when I'm running these dungeons, I am recording these raids and taking snapshots inside of the raid in order to use in my video. So it's a very, like, I'm not doing it. Honestly, the raids are not like super, super enjoyable because at the same time, not only am I thinking like, okay, this is what I have to do with my character. This is what I have to look out for. This is what, these are mechanics, things like that. But I'm looking at, okay, here comes the mechanic. Okay, I need to face my character in this specific direction. That way I can see this attack happening perfectly. And then, I have to turn this way and I have to take a screenshot really quick in order to see that attack and what it looks like and be able to throw it in my video. So my actual gameplay is fairly stressful. And sometimes I have to run it, a couple times in order to get like the perfect picture that I want or the perfect angle, things like that. Because when it comes down to the final editing, well, before I get to the final editing. So after I run it multiple times, then I go back to my script, do a final, I touch up everything. This is, my script is basically me running the dungeon. Like, this is how I'm interpreting it. And I make changes. The script is finalized. I record the script. I go into my gameplay. I start my editing process in Adobe Premiere, which is a very, very long process. I have to go trim out silent sections. I have to make corrections on, terms, or if something doesn't sound right, I have to replace it. Typically for, let's say, an 11-minute video, I record my, like, reading off my scripts and stuff typically is about 20 minutes total. And that's with like breaks in between. That's with, maybe I have to like say something over again to make it have like a little bit more emphasis and sound a little clearer, something like that. But yeah, so I'll go in, I'll trim out 20 minutes of audio, and then I'll start adding in my gameplay footage. And then that comes down to, the whole, okay, so I have this attack coming up that I'm talking about. I need to find the perfect clip out of all of my gameplay footage in order to piece that into that certain area. So like, for instance, let me bring my thing back up here so I can see it. I'll just use, excuse me. I'll use Malgorax as a good example for that. Okay, so when I'm playing Malgorax and he uses Molten Spittle, where he shoots out the lava and a few players are debuffed, they have the big ring around them. When he does that, I then think, okay, he just used this attack, because I can't guarantee that I'm going to have it inflicted on my character. So who has it? And then I look at them and I have to, I turn my camera so I can literally see them with the attack, see where they go, see where they drop it. Am I getting a good view of that attack? Then he's leaving the magma puddle. So I have to make sure that I'm looking at that magma puddle. I'm pressing the screenshot button. That way I can save it. And it's like, that's the entire process. It's very, it can be time consuming, but then I have to go back in when I'm editing. I have to find that exact section in my clip. If I didn't have time to timestamp things, then I have to manually search. I take out that clip, I throw it into into my timeline where it needs to be, and I line it up, appropriately. So when I talk about, Malgorax's abilities, Molten Spittle, it cuts to that clip of that individual, of that player who has Molten Spittle, and then what it happens when he has that attack, And my overall goal with creating these videos that I do is literally just, I want it to be very thorough. I want it to be very precise, and I want it to be very clear to like the viewers of what's happening and what you need to do. And I feel like that's, I don't want to call anybody out. I'm not going to call anybody out. I honestly haven't seen a whole lot I don't watch a lot of the reviews or a lot of the guides and stuff. but I know sometimes it's not very clear, especially people who release information, you know, way prior. If they're doing stuff from like PTR builds or even the live, you know, that normal difficulty video of the abilities does not always look the same as LFR. So that's the process. It's very time consuming. And you know, I do it in free time. I do it late at night and things like that. I'm going to try to keep on putting it out like that. You know, the last wing is of Aberrus is coming out next week. Depends on whenever this video comes out, actually. Let me see. Sarkarth comes out the 20th. Like even when I go on vacation this week, I'm going to be typing up my script for Sarkarth. You know, I'm going to have it all ready. The rough drafts are going to be done. And then once I get back, you know, once Sarkarth goes live, then I will, you know, I'm going to be jumping into it and grabbing footage. And I think with him only being one boss, even though he has multiple phases, I don't think it's going to be a really long time process. I would like to get that video up the exact same day he's out. And that is my overall goal. My thumbnail, everything's going to be done prior to that release. So I really hope to have it open. But if not, it will be the next day. And I will also introduce the Sarkarth cheat sheet. That will be something I'm going to keep on doing as well. If you guys use the cheat sheets, please use my link to travel to it. If you could please give me a thumbs up on the video itself. I'm trying my best to keep track of it. Like I said, it's kind of time consuming to make them in my already limited time that I have. But if it's something that people are actually going to use and it's beneficial, then I'll do it. I'll keep doing it because my overall goal is to help players. Like it's something that I actually enjoy, you know. Creating the videos is fun. I love making YouTube videos. It's just fun. It's just a whole lot of fun. And I also like helping people. So that's why I like the guides. And I feel like I bring something that not that other YouTubers don't bring, which is just the precision and detail when it comes to breaking down the guides. So that's it. This is the longest pod of this. And I had to make up because I didn't put one out last week. My daughter ended up getting sick, so I had her at home to take care of. I didn't have time to put up the pod. So this is kind of like a combination. And what are we at? Like 47 minutes. So that's going to be it for this. I am still going to put out videos. I do have a couple videos in mind that I will be doing at some point later. I'm actually going to try to do some live streaming coming up here when I get back from vacation as well. But overall, once I get caught up on my videos, that's what will happen. I'm going to be ranking all the Mythic Plus dungeons. I'm going to be ranking all the bosses, just like I did for Vault. You know, who's the most fun? Who's the least fun? Who's the, you know, biggest pain in the ass? Who's the not so big of a pain in the ass? And then, yeah, then I'm going to start diving into some of the Mythic information. I'm going to send out, looks like from the poll that I have, that I put up on Facebook or not Facebook, Jesus Christ, not Facebook, on YouTube, that a lot of you guys are interested in kind of everything, you know, Mythic Plus dungeons, Mythic tips, tank tips, raid tips. You know, I could definitely go in more depth on tanking since that is what my main is. And yeah, we'll just see how things go. But anyway, that's it. Episode 5 in the books. I will upload this at some point, probably the coming week, just to help keep a video that week. Because I don't have anything planned. Like I said, I'm going to be out of vacation. So if you're interested in seeing more of my personal stuff, I'm going to upload, I'm probably going to upload a lot more personal pictures on my Patreon. I don't really want to keep anything. I was going to do my cheat sheets on Patreon, honestly, or like locked behind channel memberships, but I don't even feel like doing that. Like, it's not fair. So it's something to help people out. So I just did it for free. So I'm thinking I'm going to kind of shift my channel membership and my Patreon to a more personal feeling, more personal level type environment. If you're interested in that, if you're interested in supporting me, you don't have to. I'm not asking for any type of support like that. Honestly, the best thing you can do, and it is completely free, is to watch my video and to press the like button. And to honestly, if you want to take it one step further, leave a comment that says thanks. I read every single comment, and the more comments, the more engagement that my video gets, the more it gets pushed out to other people. And that is my goal. That is my main goal, is to push my videos to as many people as possible and to create a different WoW community here. You know, I love this game fully. It was my all-time favorite game back in the day when I played it, and I jumped back into it into the Shadowlands and have fallen right back in love with it. Truly passionate about it. I can't put the game down to play anything else. So I just want to make I want to be a part of the WoW community and create another sub community inside of it. So that's pretty much it. Little sentimental thoughts there at the end. I appreciate anybody who stops in. Appreciate anybody who listens and likes. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.